This is David Prosper, host of the Leadership Revolution. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast from Public House Media.
Hello everybody, it's hashtag No Filter Friday on Public House Media, and it's kind of a quiet week, and there's a perfectly good reason for that. And let's be honest, my hair looks amazing because I just got it blown out, but that's besides the point. Anyway, hashtag Me Too used to dominate the news cycle, and it was a daily or sometimes hourly occurrence of having some sort of new expose or revelation, or somebody's got a book out, or somebody tweeted something, or court documents got released, or any of this stuff. Speaking of court documents, there was one little teeny tiny thing that happened with the Epstein case, and that a judge said that all of the flight logs outside of Epstein's longest running private pilot that he had for 25 years, outside of those flight logs, that they're being made public. Now, if you've been in the loop for some time, you would know that those documents got leaked a long time ago, but now they're legally available, which is a good thing. That's exciting, right? So that's one legit hashtag Me Too thing that happened this weekend. And at this point, can we even really call Epstein hashtag Me Too? Because it's more hashtag he's a rapist too. Because there's so many, and his buddies. I should have closed this window behind me. This is too many. Hello, is that David Bobke? Let me know how this sounds, because I decided to change mics this week because I have a chronic problem of losing lapel mic clips. It is a terrible habit that I have. I have yet to find a way to cure this. So if you have any tips on how I can go through my life where I don't lose every mic clip that I own, that would be most helpful. And I see people coming in, I see little tiny pictures, but I don't have glasses on and I can't really tell who it is. So leave me a comment. That's why we do the show live, so I can actually talk to you like the people that you are. But even besides that, also leave a comment even if you watch the replay of the show, because that's also an option. However, I would be lying if I didn't say that I have been seriously considering pre-recording the show, because I am currently living in Wi-Fi purgatory. It's horrible. As you know, I've been on the road since, I don't know, June or something. Long time. I don't even know what day or time it is anymore. If this show is the only thing that anchors the space-time continuum for me, otherwise I have no clue. So I'm considering pre-recording the show, because in the current time zone that I'm in, it's actually Saturday morning for me, a la this big giant ball of sunlight behind me, but it's Friday night for the time zone that I normally do the show in. So I'm thinking about pre-recording. I don't know. It's an idea that I'm kicking around because on one hand, I love doing a show live because we have this conversation, On the other hand, is it really the thing, does it really give the shit spot in this time zone? I'm not totally sure. So I'm working on that. Anyway, there was 2 interesting articles that came out this week. I shouldn't even say this week, within the last 24 hours, basically. One I just posted, which was kind of the play-by-play on the, I don't want to say antics, but the full-on knockdown, drag-out brawl between Alyssa Milano and Rose McGowan. And I think on this show, I might as well just go ahead and take sides and say I'm going to say that I'm team Rose McGowan, because I think her intentions are more, I hate to use the word pure, but they just are. I think her intentions are more based in fact and not personal gain or anything. It's just just telling the truth and keeping that going, whereas Alyssa Milano is quite obviously on a publicity train. This is obviously a movement, a hashtag, whatever, that piqued her interest and was like, hey, I haven't been relevant since the 90s. Let me get on this train. If Rose McGowan can do it, surely so can I. It's not really the case. And people have issues with Rose McGowan because of her mental health situation, and really, like, I get what people are saying, but that's the thing, though, is like when you go through stuff like this in your life, when you get raped by Harvey Weinstein and like you're the distributor of your movies, like excited about it, like, oh great, we're gonna get such a good deal. That's gonna leave a mark. All that stuff leaves a mark. You can't just get out of that stuff unscathed. And that's another stigma that we're just gonna have to learn how to deal with in this century, because but survivors of sex crimes or gender-based violence that I've worked with personally, and I've, worked with the media on their stories and things like that, and they're like, yeah, but like, this girl had to spend time in a, like a mental hospital, and like nobody's gonna like want to read her story. And it's like, well, yeah, they were beaten, raped, tortured, and starved for X amount of time by their abuser, and they've managed to get free, and now they're telling their story. Yeah, they're gonna spend some time in a mental hospital. Just like you would spend time in a regular hospital because you got your face beat in, or we're going to spend some time in a mental hospital because they abuse this too. And that's okay, but that's a stigma that we're going to have to deal with as a people, because we can't get past this stuff if we don't deal with like the people that actually survived it directly. I'm going to hit myself with some vitamin C mist because it is so hot in here. I can't even describe it in words. It's like living in someone's mouth. It's so hot and sweaty. Anyway, so I posted that article on my Facebook. Or you could say blow by blow over the past couple years between Rose McGowan and Alyssa Milano, because that's really what it is. Let's be honest. Another thing that came out, which was like I don't want to say a gentle reminder, but a nice op-ed by in People magazine by Jessica Alba. And what I thought was interesting about that is that because the Emmys are kind of going on right now, the Creative Arts Emmys are done, and I think the prime times are done, but I'm purposely out of the loop on this stuff because I'm taking a Hollywood mental health sabbatical. I'm pretty sure the Primetime Emmys are done as well. And in the past, in the show, I have done full episodes just on Emmy shenanigans. So if you go look at last September or the September before, there's all, like Baxter and I did a full episode on just Emmy shenanigans one year, and it was so much fun, and people loved it. And we should probably do it again at some point. Anyway, because it's the Emmy season, and Emmy season in the September is kind of like the unofficial kickoff of award show season. So the Emmys come in September, and then, there's lots of parties. And because there's so many categories of the Emmys, there's creative arts, there's daytime, there's primetime Emmys. Those are all separate award shows. It's a really exciting time because lots of your friends get nominated and your friends win, or they're nominated and, trying to win against each other. And there's all these parties, and, the Primetime Emmys are a special award show in the way that it's like a sit-down dinner, and like everybody's at a table and there, and then it's held at the Beverly Hills Hilton, and every single ballroom is a different party. What once was the Weinstein party, the HBO party, or In Style has a party with Warner Brothers. All of those parties are within the same place, and every other award show is different. Like you got to go over hill and dale to get to everybody's party, and Emmy's primetime night is different because everything's in one spot. And it's film and television, which is really, I think it's exciting because you're kind of, I don't know, the day was like, does film or TV, and there's not really much of a difference unless you're somebody like Tilda Swinton or something, who's obviously not going to be on television, and is just doing features. It's kind of a mixed crowd now, which is very cool. And then that kind of leads you into the release window for Oscar season. So Emmys are in September. You get your like Halloween, fall movies for September and October. And then the beginning of November into December, about Christmas Day, is your release zone for if you're contending for an Oscar or the various guild awards, blah, 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 whatever. So it's kind of the kickoff into that whole like hyper competitive season, which if you stay in Hollywood is really, really fun. Because the parties were, not anymore, not this year, were just a full-time job, which was like the best full-time job ever. But anyway, this year, because of coronavirus, and I say that lightly, the Emmys didn't have an audience, but they also didn't do it like MTV did, because MTV just kind of shot their stuff on green screen stages and then various like outdoor locations and smushed it all together. I think they did creatively and functionality wise. I think MTV did a really good job this summer for the VMAs and things like that of how they put that together. But this year's like the worst year on like ratings record for the Emmys because people are over it. And it just doesn't have the same zhuzh, the same energy. Like it's just not there anymore. And I think that is a direct reflection of the fact that like the same zhuzh and hype and energy is just not there for Hollywood. Like people are over it. Even me. And I've spent the last 12, 13 years living and working in Hollywood every minute of the day. And it's just not, it just doesn't have the grasp on people that it once was. Like, especially in an election year, like that's the thing is like, we always talk about my sincere disdain for the mainstream media on this show, which is obvious. We don't have to hold that in. But, they've created this cycle where they have to eat themselves over and over and over again. And it's, on one hand, it's really fun to watch because it's like, oh, look at you and your ratings struggle. And then the other hand of it is like, oh my God, the mass populace is absolutely brainwashed by this media machine madness. And that's what it is. It's madness. And we're living in this giant psychological experiment, spearheaded by the mainstream media, which is just unbelievably crazy to watch play out in such vibrant hypercolor. It's like watching a fever dream every second of the day, which is why I'm on a sabbatical. I just can't with America right now. I just gotta put up a little divider. That's the only thing that those coronavirus plexiglass dividers are for, is to just put an extra. At this point, I would welcome coronavirus if we could just get rid of this crazy. It would be okay. But anyway, back to my point about Jessica Alba. Jessica Alba is a woman who has her situation together. Her situation is always situated at all times. And there's something to be said for that, especially because she's an independent person, which is not something that you really come across, A, in this world, or B, in Hollywood in general. But she wrote this thing about how it's in People magazine, and it is kind of a plug for The Honest Company, like, let's be for real, and for the show that she's on, LA's Finest, with Gabrielle Union. I have never worked with Gabrielle Union or Jessica Alba before. I think I've hand doubled for Jessica Alba before, but I didn't like physically see her or step foot on set with her. I was just there for like a B unit day where they needed, because my hands do not match hers. They had to do foundation to get me to her color. But I didn't actually work with her, and I've only done like a Hallmark event with Gabrielle Union, so I don't really know her either. I've never worked with her. But she was talking about how it was so interesting for somebody like Jerry Bruckheimer to take a show like LA's Finest, which is like a kind of like a, I don't know, traditionally what you would think of as like a masculine-esque show, and then use two women of color as, the leads to tie the show down. And like, obviously he picked two amazing ones. Like, of course that's going to be television gold. But she talked about how Hollywood doesn't know what to do with itself, in the digital age of streaming, in the way of coronavirus, and that we don't have movie theaters right now, and we don't know if we're going to get them back, if those and how slow the studio and television system has been, even before #MeToo, to like adapt and figure out streaming, figure out VOD, figure out run times that weren't a half an hour comedy or an hour drama or, you know, a 2-hour feature. Like they're just, you know, we're completely rewriting rules all the time, which is fantastic. I mean, that's kind of what the dawn purpose of Hollywood was to begin with. It was just a bunch of, you know, ragtag people that went west and was like, let's do this. And they did. And they, you know, basically birthed what we know as pop culture today, which is fantastic. I mean, we have a lot of stuff that is straight trash, and we also have a lot of stuff that's really beautiful, you know, fantastic, prolific piece. I always struggle to call film and television art, but for better or for worse, that's what it is. I just have to get over using that word. But she talked about how the studio system's always been like slow to adapt. A, because they don't want to, and B, because they're so fixated on like formulatic. And I think if you cross-reference that with the Alyssa Milano and Rose McGowan feud, when #MeToo went viral, CA was like, oh man, what are we going to do? And I mean, rightfully so, because they were absolutely, and still are to this day, involved. Start the office seat of #MeToo, and you're like, those that are hyping the most are usually underhanded in some way. It's just the way things go. So Jessica Alba's not wrong. I would venture to say she's probably never been wrong a day in her life. And considering how well The Honest Company is doing, and how well she's just doing as a person with her and her husband and her family and her company and like all that stuff, I think we should listen. I think we have finally landed on a person who is actually talking some sense. And that is right now in 2020, that is a beautiful, isolated incident that we should all be like, you know what? You're Tori. There it is. Okay, thank God. Anyway, so now that my Wi-Fi had its little spat, I'm going to wrap this up, and I will see you all next week. And hopefully we'll have more Epstein news, because that's the best news to have. The best news. There were some rumblings last week about how Ghislaine Maxwell and Bill Clinton had like some private dinner together somewhere. So let's hope that's happening, or we'll get more information on that. I have a feeling I know when that was, but I'm not 100% sure, so we got to wait on some information. Anyway, check out other shows on Public House Media. They're not nearly as dark or dirty or cynical at this point. Like Choose to Rise and Disarming Disability and all those really fantastic shows, and give them, you know, ratings on Google Play or anywhere that you get your podcast, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all of Public House Media is on Amazon Music as of like last week, I think. So you can Amazon all of the shows, including No Filter Friday. So I will see you all next week. Bye, 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 bye.